Hello there, kia ora. Welcome to this week's news. This week, Tararua Mayor Tracy Collis, seen here threatening to send Eka Tahuna's giant kiwi to Wellington like a vengeful kaiju if she's not listened to, laid down an ultimatum to the government and Transport Minister Simeon Brown, seen here showing what greets you when you die and go to the bad place, over the proposed toll for Te Hahu Aturanga Manawatu Tararua Highway. In her ultimatum, Mayor Collis has said that she will refuse to take back the maintenance of 3 detour routes if the toll is put in place. These routes were previously maintained by the council, but after the gorge closure, Waka Kotahi took over. Collis argues that if a toll is imposed on the new road, the traffic on the other roads would still be substantially more than their maintenance budgets allow, since the region already has the 4th largest roading network in the country and a rating base of only 10,200 people. Concerns have been raised by a range of rural groups, including Federated Farmers and the Rural Women's Group, over cancelled school bus routes in rural areas. So far, this year 21 rural bus routes have been cancelled, with a further 11 being replaced or combined into other routes. The primary concern is that this limits the ability of children in rural areas to access education, and it means some families are considering leaving the farming industry to find places better able to access schooling. Rural Women New Zealand President Gil Naylor says, quote, "In rural areas there's no public transport options, no footpaths or cycleways. Our roads are not safe for kids to be biking to school." In response, Transport Minister Simeon Brown, seen here promoting the new horror film Smile 2, said, "We really appreciate our rural communities and are glad that they get to see in action our plans for public transport in urban centres before anyone else. Instead of thanking the bus driver, they can thank us instead." Immigration Minister Erica Stanford, seen here giving a rendition of Evita's Don't Cry for Me Argentina, this week announced eligibility changes to the Migrant Exploitation Protection Work Visa. Under these changes, exploited migrant workers will no longer be able to apply for a 6-month visa extension more than once, and the definition of the term exploited is being changed to only include a quote-unquote genuine employment relationship. And applicants must also now meet minimum experience and skills thresholds and English language requirements to apply for the visa. This happened as the employer theft bill introduced last term by Ibrahim Omar, seen here, chuffed to know that you can't beat Wellington on a good day, passed its second reading with the support of New Zealand First. Despite cries from National, the party that reintroduced 90-day trials, delivered the lowest minimum wage increase on record, and tiny tax cuts for low wage earners, fired thousands of public servants and demanded the return of others from work from home, claiming that they were the party of workers and didn't like being told that they couldn't steal workers' wages. New data out of the Public Service Commission this week has shown that despite ministerial drives to cut costs and 7,000 public sector jobs cut to pay for tax cuts that the government still had to borrow for, the public service costs continue to grow and wages have increased, with the total base salary for public services increasing 5.3% to $6.5 billion. Over the past 12 months, redundancy payouts have cost the government $50 million, while the annual average salary for public servants went up 4.6% to $101,700 per year, with the highest paid salaries going to David Seymour's new Ministry of Regulation, and an average $150,000 a year. So well done, Nicola Willis. Clearly that plan to make savings worked out as well as, well, all your others. The Green Party this week voted unanimously to have Darlene Tana, pictured here saying, "Is it me? Am I the drama? I don't think I'm the drama," removed from Parliament. As a result of the vote, the Greens have written to Tana to again request she resign and inform Speaker Jerry Brownlee of their decision as part of the process to enact the Waka Jumping Bill. The Green Party has been hesitant to use the provision since they did not support it initially, despite voting for it as a part of a confidence and supply agreement with Labour at the time in 2018. Said Prime Minister Christopher Luxon, "While this is a matter for the Green Party, I want to encourage MPs to take advantages of rule changes, so there's less heat on me for changing the Brightline test than selling a property that fell out of the new criteria and made me a heap of untaxed capital gains." New data out of MSD this week showed an extra 12,000 people on benefits compared to this time last quarter, and the number of people on main benefits aged between 15 and 64 at the highest ever recorded levels. Social Development Minister Louise Upston, seen here watching in abject horror as a beneficiary who was sanctioned for not answering their phone after it was disconnected due to the decreased allowance they get from being sanctioned, and had the audacity to ask MSD for an emergency grant to help pay their phone bill so they could continue to look for work in a market overcrowded with the highest number of people on job seeker benefit ever recorded, said, "We're working really hard to make sure that in 12 months' time we can proudly say the 2024 numbers were good in hindsight, because there'll probably be a lot more then." This week, psychologists ask that where possible you keep an eye out on the most fragile men you know. It's Dame Jacinda Ardern getting her damehood week. The former Prime Minister has not been able to attend the official ceremony in Aotearoa to have the title bestowed, but was recently in Britain for her work as part of the trustees on the Earthshot Prize with Prince William. So arrangements were made for the formal ceremony to be held on the grounds of Windsor Castle. Of course, this is incredibly triggering for those snowflakes who think they could do a better job than she did in the face of a global pandemic, terrorist attack, and volcanic eruption, all while raising a young family facing the most disgusting online vitriol and death threats and running the country. So keep those poor fragile people in your thoughts this week. Or block them and let them cry to themselves and don't let them bring you down. And speaking of the most fragile people you know, Reality Check Radio today launched what it's calling an anti-woke chocolate bar. It comes in two flavors, he, him, that contains nuts, and she, her, that's eaten by nuts. For the low price of $8.95, you can grab one bar of either variety, which contains the same amount of chocolate as you'll find in 3 rows of a Kit Kat, as long as you don't change the wrappers. That's not allowed. You can stick it to the woke mob on the RCR website, or head to Pack and Save and get 2 big blocks of something decent from a company that isn't trying to scam people and rage farm them with sweet treats. And finally, in a moment of blatant self-promotion, I'm heading to Whangarei in November, on November 7th, as part of the Network Waitangi Whangarei free lecture series, The Treaty and Me. In my talk, I'm going to talk you through a journey that involves land grabs, grave desecration, hero worship of war criminals, and why it's dumb to listen to rich white folk who have a history of trying to get their own way through any means possible, no matter how expensive, and then tell you elite Māori are coming for you in the night. You can actually find the details for that on the Network Waitangi Whangarei website, which I'll also put in my link tree so you can hunt all the details down there. And that, everybody, is this week's news. Here. The links to other things that come at the end of YouTube videos. Those ones there, here.